as LARP plague, or post-LARP plague.
Oh, you're freezing.
Oh, you're freezing.
You're freezing. Yeah, I think I'm back. Ah, Kitty. Ares has his cat. The poor animal. Also, the cat's got it bad. So yeah, for those of you that haven't seen, I think everyone's been on at this point, but do you just want to briefly introduce yourself? So, Eddie, if you want to introduce yourself.
I am Eddie, and I play Hera.
Hey.
That's about it.
Again, it's not going to be the best episode this week. We're all super duper tired. Gary.
Hello, I'm Gary. I'm playing Apollo. I decided to keep dressing up for this for fun.
Well,
Apollo's in the shark onesie.
yeah, I was going to say he's representing
Hey.
his boy Poseidon. Hey.
I've got this on.
I did my eyeliner. You know.
I've got the toga on.
Full makeup.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, I've seen you in real life, and that's what you normally wear, so.
He just got the weirdest tan lines.
I know, right? And that's what's on his face.
I'm kidding. He's from Ireland. He doesn't have tan lines.
There are bruises over here.
Jack, would you like to introduce yourself again?
Hello, I'm Jack. I play Ares.
There we are. If you can hear meowing, I apologise. My cat is also here and is horny and keeps shouting out for dick.
Sorry, this is a girl. Sorry.
At this point, I don't think she cares. Stuart, would you like to introduce yourself?
I am sure.
And he's broken, apparently.
He's frozen.
He's Stuart and he plays Poseidon for whenever he does get back. And I'm Luke. I'm your DM, host, therapist, techie, everything else. So yeah. Oh, shut up. You can't have the dick. I was talking to my wife to be. That's right. Before we get started in the main issues, general thoughts on episode 3, which was Turning a Blind Eye, which then turned into pull NPCs out of a hat until they decide to leave.
I love Agatha.
Yeah.
Oh man. Agatha. Oh boy.
Yeah, she was.
Favorite.
Yeah, she was. She was something.
Frozen.
What the heck was that?
That was an advert on the Twitch stream.
All right. So yeah. So last episode, just as a quick recap, they had finished their business with Dionysus and his council. They had investigated the bathhouse and the creepy spider and the woman that seemed to be either summoning it or trying to use it. And so they were told, we'll take it from here. Away you go. And so our heroes decided to spend some time investigating the town, getting a few jobs done before they left. Mercy went to a temple to try and patch herself up, re-bandage herself, sort herself out. Alma wanted to find a plant. Runt could not find a plant. They went drinking with some Vikings on a Viking ship turned into a bar. They tried to identify the magical items they found, and one thing will
Did really badly.
Did really badly. Well, to be fair, they identified the items that they found. They just then sold them for a price.
And told the woman that was clearly going to fleece them that they stole them.
From dead people that they killed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when all was said and done, they met some more NPCs. They met some furbolgs who agreed to give them a lift to Delphi after some here and there that we'll go into in a minute. They decided to go to Delphi because Alma wanted to go there and they thought that maybe Mercy could get some answers on her path there as well. And so they met some furbolgs that said they would take them there. if they agreed to like look after the oxen that took it, and if they would, that's my cat, if they would fix the cart if it needed any repairs and things like that. They stopped off at a town. They found like a farming town where things seemed a little bit freaky. And they were told by the couple that said they would put them up that they couldn't stay here because they were taking the children. And
Not
then
the children.
And they said the name Polyphemus before there was a knock on the door, and that's where we ended it, almost as if to build suspense. So so a few things there. First of all, we'll try and go in a bit of chronological order. So Mercy, with her whole bandagey, she's got a lot of scars kind of past. What do we think's going on there?
Could have just been in a fight. Could have just gotten lots of fights.
That's an Aries answer right there.
Some sort of chariot accident where she wasn't wearing a seatbelt.
Yeah, she seemed to, very ceremonious about it. So again, this episode's going to kind of, because a lot of things happened in the last episode that are very common things that occur in a tabletop game. So I kind of wanted to bring them up briefly and then talk about how they work from game to game and things like that, and what your guys' opinions on them are.
You are starting to find more about Mercy's backstory.
Definitely.
They give a lot of information.
Yeah, there's like little hints of everybody's backstory, but yeah, we seem to be getting a lot of Mercy's at the minute.
Yeah. That's one thing I wanted to talk about. But the first thing that happened before that is what happened for the third episode in a row, and that is splitting the party. So obviously Mercy wanted to go off and do her thing. The rest of the players wanted to go off and do their various things. So I want to get what are your guys' opinions on, splitting the party. Can it work? Does it work? If you're in games, do you prefer to work together and do that, or do you prefer to split the party? If any of you have DM'd games, how do you find it when the players decide to do that?
I find it hard.
Yeah.
As a DM, I find it hard when the players will go, I'm going over here, because you want to make it fun for everyone. So when you're talking to that one person, everyone else is sitting there going, doo, 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 and I feel like I have to make it fun for everybody.
Yeah.
So what often I do is I kind of, myself, I would write down stuff I want to say to that one person who's gone off on their own. And they say, I'm going to go do this. So I deal with the people who are still together first. And whilst I'm doing that, I'm writing down stuff for this one person.
Yeah.
And sometimes I just hand them what I've written. So they know, and only they know what they've done.
Yeah.
And sometimes I take them out of the room and I go over it with them. But I normally do it at a time when the group have got something to talk about with what they did. So they can kind of entertain each other chatting in character with what they've done. But if they all just go off in different directions.
Yeah.
I would agree, yes. It's not so bad if they split maybe in evens. If there's two of them go off somewhere, two go off the other, that way it's not too bad. But when one goes off one way, one goes off the other way, and as you say, the group goes off the other way, you're kind of confused. You have to play by ear. My first one was I got there, they all went different situations, different directions. Yeah, and it was fun. It was fun, put me on my toes. But yeah, it's trying to not focus on that one person too much and kind of bring everybody back. But you get some funny amusements out of them because the others can't interact and they have to watch like going, they're doing something.
Yeah, like like even though it wasn't splitting the party, they were together, but they weren't able to talk with Agatha, being the main one I think of, because Alma was there talking to Agatha, and the other players knew exactly what was going on, but their characters were having a different conversation, so they couldn't butt in and be like, no. And you had them there like, oh gosh. So yeah, for me, I think it depends on, like, you've got to have good players for it, especially.
Yeah, you can't have players like, oh, I just overheard that conversation that was on the other side of the room.
Yeah.
Did you really?
Yeah, especially for on-camera stuff like this as well. Like, if you've got people that you want people that are invested and watching, because, you know, if you're not, no, my cat may have just killed itself. But yeah, if you have people doing things like my cat just did, and, you know, just messing around and making noises and causing distractions while someone's having their bit, then it's, you know, it's your eye's going to be drawn to that instead. So especially for like a camera campaign, isn't that right, you little shit?
No cats were harmed in the making of this blog, by the way.
Yet. We are also in no way sponsored by Carlsberg.
Sorry, other drinks are available. There's candy in the house. So we have, you know, splitting the party. Generally, I think, although I say generally it's not great, it seems to have worked. Yeah, it's definitely going to happen. It's worked so far as well. Like, I don't think anybody's been like, we make jokes about it, but I don't think anyone's been like, oh, they split the party again.
Yeah, I think it sometimes can happen quite naturally with a D&D game, because your characters aren't always, you know, if you've got 4 characters, all 4 people aren't always going to want to do the same 4 things or the same one thing, all going on at once. So you will naturally get some people that do want to split and go to other things. So I think it's partially up to the DM to keep everybody as involved as possible. You know, our DM in one of our games at the moment make sure that if we've got 2 people off over here, 1 person here and 1 person here, that they do flip between the small groups to keep everybody interested.
And almost do it in scenes.
Yeah, little scenes that are going on, and it is a little bit up to the players to not try drag everything along on as much as they can do, but also to sort of understand that at the moment they're having their little turns. So it is something that sort of can happen quite naturally because of people.
Which, it's skipping forward in the episode quite a bit, but it links nicely to, like I say, so far, our characters have been really happy to split the party, and it's really worked. One time that I want to maybe go into some depth about is when the characters were deciding where they were going next. Because it seemed, and I didn't really clock it in the episode. It was brought up when I was talking and like getting excited about the episode later with people that aren't involved in it. It was like they were all deciding where to go next, and for the most part, it was like, you know, Gavriel was like, I need to go to Sparta. Runt was like, well, I don't want to go to Sparta, but I said I'd help, and then you said Sparta, so I guess we're going to Sparta. And then Alma came in with the curveball of, well, I need to go to Delphi, so I'll go on my own if I have to. And rather than split the party there, or even, they didn't even really argue about it, the players seemed to automatically go, okay, well, here's a reason why we can go to Delphi, let's all go there instead. You know, which I found quite in contrast to when we've split the party. I just wanted to know what you guys think about like that difference there.
I think
because it's, whereas where you're in a city, it's fairly easy to go, well, we'd like to do these things in here in the city, and we'd like to do these things here in this city. I think it's potentially a bit of player consciousness rather than character consciousness that, well, actually, we can't go 4 weeks that way, and you guys go 3 weeks that way. You know, it is a little bit of a, actually, we should have some compromise here, even if our characters might not necessarily be that compromising. We should do so we continue the game going a little bit, which is always good. But I think, if I remember rightly, they decided that Delphi was, whilst not on the way, was going to be one of their stops, sort of on the way down to Sparta, at least, to help them justify it for their characters. Yeah,
that's why they kind of justified it once it was brought up, but until that point, they were like kind of very set on one path, and like you say, it was probably some player consciousness. I'm just wondering if, like, let's pick someone at random and pick on them. Eddie, you have a nice face. You're pick me. You're the first on my list. It wasn't. So yeah, what do you think? Do you think you should kind of go like the characters would? And like, bear in mind, these guys have known each other for like 2 days.
Like in actual time, they've known each other about 2 days.
Yeah.
But obviously, then there's the player consciousness there. Which do you think is better?
Well, you've got to bear in mind as well that they have built up their characters the characters they've known each other for 2 days and done certain things, and it's become quite clear that all of the grown-ups have basically gone protect the child. Even the grumpy, sullen priestess, they've all gone, no, we need to protect her. She's doing stuff. She wants to learn, then this is good. Let's help her learn, but also protect her.
Yeah.
So they have gone with their characters in a way. So not just out of character going, well, actually, let's keep the game going. They've in character gone, right, well, she wants to go here. We're looking after her. It's not really that much of a bother for us to go here. Let's do that. So they did have an in-character decision for doing it as well.
Yeah.
And obviously, bearing in mind which god I am, looking after the child is high on my priorities list. So, that earned favour with me as well. So, just saying. Yeah,
definitely. And it's let's touch someone maybe a little more forceful. I know we've already have, but Jack, do you think they should have maybe, I don't know, just grabbed a hold of her and gone, no, you're coming with us, you're the littlest, do as you're told? Or
was that for me? You froze very slightly.
Yeah, the OBS seems to be having an off day, but yeah.
Can I just say no, kidnapping the child is bad.
Yeah, that's another thing that can...
Aries, do not say yes to this question. Say no.
Didn't Hera do that?
Probably.
It's right. We've not got her faces here to just constantly laugh at all of her suggestions. That's good.
He'll laugh at it at some point.
No, I think it's always about finding the journey, and I think it was quite good that actually, whilst it again wasn't quite on their way, but could be a detour. I think it was good that the party went, actually, we should go off with her and help her on that, and then continue down onto our pathway.
Yeah, and it's a nice challenge for me because it means that it isn't exactly how I think it's going to go either. Although, one thing I will say, something else I want to talk about is, but I'll revisit it later, otherwise it's going to go everywhere on tangents, is consequences of group decisions. Like I say, this episode's called Decisions, because a lot of decisions were made in there that kind of will affect the story. I just want to talk to you guys about, like, especially with your guys' campaign going on, is the thing of, whilst you're doing stuff in your story, other stuff is happening. So, like, as these players are doing their stuff, you guys are also doing your thing in your campaign. Also, while these guys are now going to Delphi, there's stuff to do with the Spartan campaign, like the things going on their way to Sparta that may still be going on. There might be stuff going on with Mercy's plot at the same time and things like that. So we'll visit that later. But yeah, just something to ponder on of, like, how, again, maybe more for people that have ran games or ran stories or things like that, on how you keep track of everything that's going on at the same time in the world. But we'll head back a bit and talk more about, again, when they're in Thebes, and that is, again, something that I had to do very quickly, and that is planning versus improv. Because, I had some plans, and again, new GM, but I thought that they would head off straight from Thebes, and they'd be on their way to whichever destination. And obviously the players didn't want to do that. They wanted to explore Thebes more and tie up some loose ends and things. So that meant a lot of improvisation for me. And as you saw, like, a lot of NPCs kind of pulled out of my ass for that. So when you guys are playing games, and this can kind of relate to LARP as well, like when you're thinking of backstories or planning what your character will do in a D&D or a LARP game, do you prefer to kind of just go with the flow and kind of react in character, or do you like to have plans in place for that? We'll go with Gary because he hasn't had much of a go yet.
Probably mix of both. In D&D games, you always have where you want the plot to go, but you always know your characters are going to go see something shiny and go off a different direction sometimes. But it's all like trying to either bring it back, or if they need to be somewhere or meet somebody, put them where they're going. Because it's their story, they're leading it. You help them telling it. With LARP, it's I think slightly different because you have the overall war plot and everything. But back stories always the stories onwards that way. But improv is always very good to see what you can do and what they come up with.
Yeah,
and catching you off guard and how you react and themselves. But you've done very well. The whole NPCs and. They weren't at the city for that long. It's a big, nice city party going on. Let's explore a bit more. I thought we'd be there for a couple more days, but it's still very good.
Yeah, and to be fair, to begin with, I thought that they would spend lots of days in there, but then they seemed very direct in what they were doing, and then they were like, "Okay, now we've done that. Now let's party," which is fair enough. Stuart, how about just you from a player point of view, like rather than running games? Like I said, do you prefer to kind of be more passive in what you do, or do you like to have plans of like, I know some people when they finish one D&D game, for example, or they finished one like event at LARP, they write down all the things that they can remember from it, all the things they want to do based on that, and then they try and tick things off the list the next time? Or do you just kind of like to see what happens and kind of go with it?
I think for me it depends on what character I'm playing. I have had 2 recent LARP systems on the go at the minute. For the Irish LARP system I was playing in Atlanta, my character was very laissez-faire, go with the flow, do what he liked. Not very bright, so there was no planning between events. There was no... I think the only thing he planned was what he was doing for his downtime, and if the downtime worked, great. If it didn't work, he was just going to go to the next event anyway. Yeah. And all he did was go up and hit things. For LT, I play a much... grumpier character and a bit more serious, and he's like got responsibilities, so there's a little bit more of planning involved. I'll have objectives written down, or like rough objectives, like things I'll try and get through, like who people I need to talk to. But yeah, that generally shows up day one of the event and things go completely out the window. People surprise me with information. They corner me the last 5 minutes before timeout, Eddie. I'm
gonna say Eddie's been chuckling to herself this whole time while you've
been talking. Eddie managed to bring me like 10 minutes before the timeout of one of the events before with a lot of information for my character. So yeah, no, I think for me it depends on the character.
Yeah, so if the character would plan things, they can plan things. If they wouldn't, just go with it. That's actually a really cool way of looking at it.
No. Yeah, no, I was chuckling for many reasons, not just that. I'm chuckling because Kratos is in a bit of a dilemma, and everyone on God Chat is being cruel to him.
Fair. Kratos is he will appear, but I haven't seen the God Chat, and that you guys don't want to see the God Chat. Judging by that laughter. If the Fizz rep is around, he can feel free to jump in and wave, and get a hug from his wife.
To be fair, that's pretty much what that he needs to get something from in here, and he's scared to come in without me killing him. So.
Well, he has my permission. It's just because we will get him on one episode when he's here. Is that a different cat?
Yes.
Okay. Good. I thought I might have been going mad. Right, back to... Alright. Right, back to this talk show thing we're actually meant to be doing.
Sorry.
So a good segue before we move on to the next thing. A couple of things. One, I don't have it with me at the minute, but just check the Facebook page. Today and tomorrow before around 5 p.m, because I've got to put the thing together. Don't forget, you can still donate to Calm on the link to be in a chance for winning the gorgeous dice box. We've raised, last time I checked, it was like £203, which is amazing. Yeah, more if we can, definitely more. But yeah, thank you so much, guys. One thing to note for anybody that's donated that is watching, we've had about 5 anonymous donors. If that's just that you wanted to donate but weren't interested in the in winning the dice box, that's great. I just thought I'd say something just in case you did it by accident, because obviously I can't put your name into a raffle if I don't have your name.
A lot of people frantically checking.
Yeah. So yeah, just double check that if you've
check after watching this. Watch after this.
Well, watch it on something and then check on your phone or something.
Yeah.
Another thing is if you have, either a spare bit of money or Amazon Prime or Twitch Prime, which are essentially the same thing, please subscribe to us if you can. Remember, you have to do that every single month if you use your Twitch Prime sub. It doesn't automatically renew, which is a bit of a pain, but you get it for free. So yeah, it'd be amazing if you would subscribe to us. So thank you very much. Right.
Yeah.
Shameless plugs over. So moving on to, again, the main thing that kind of happened in that last episode, which is... oh, jeez.
Is he Commander crawling?
Like a commando.
Kratos, just stand up and wave.
Kratos.
He's trying to get the laundry basket and it falls, so he's having trouble.
Oh, dear.
Can you move the camera so we can see him do it?
It's plugged in.
Mighty Titan Kratos must do his laundry. Oh, dear. Oh, jeez. Oh, what is this episode?
So you were saying about running on time?
I don't know.
He's leaving now.
Bye.
Oh, sorry.
Even the gods need to do the laundry.
Apparently they get, Titan bodyguards to do it instead.
Yeah.
Kratos hand washing.
That is actually what he's been doing.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good. I needed that laugh.
Good. Oh, jeez. So yeah, I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. NPCs. So yeah, for you guys, what makes a good NPC? Because I've seen a lot of discussions recently, which are kind of for and against NPCs that follow players around, almost like a player character for the DM. So one thing I want to ask is, when you guys do the NPC thing, do you like that every interaction, say with like a shopkeep or like a blacksmith, do you like it to be like an interaction each time, or do you prefer that? Oh, thank you, Queethuli or Queethul13 for following. Or do you like it to be, like, if you want to do some shopping, do you like to tick stuff off? So how much, basically what I'm saying is, how much NPC do you like in your games?
I don't think I don't like surprise NPCs, although I've had to do that quite a bit in games.
Is that when you're running games or when you're playing?
Yeah, when I run games, I don't really like to do surprise NPCs.
Right.
I think that's more personal. It's like, oh crap, I hadn't prepared for this. I wasn't expecting them to go to the random shopkeeper in the middle of the night to try and talk about the price of grenades.
Yeah.
Similar has happened in games. But I do like if they make like a proper NPC character that maybe long lasting. I do try to have a bit of knowledge of what they'll talk about and what they know in the game.
Yeah.
Although that can sort of telegraph it for which NPCs they're meant to be discussing with and which ones they're not meant to be. It's like, oh, Stuart hasn't planned for this guy.
Yeah.
So he's clearly not important to the game and we'll move on. So it's...
Yeah, it's one tip that I found, well, a couple of tips is, if you have to make up an NPC on the fly, like the Vikings or like Agatha, for example, is... Thank you, Frog Skeleton. Is...
Oh, the players are watching.
Yes, they are. They're commenting as well. It's that if you have to make up an NPC on the fly, if you get a good interaction from players with it, after the session, try and write up a little bit more about them, so that either when they ask things, you can kind of know what will happen, and also they might be able to appear again and cause mischief. I may or may not have plans for several of the NPCs if they meet them again.
Agatha.
Maybe. Also, is not letting the players know which NPCs are important as well. Which, again, is hard. If you've clearly planned one, and you can tell there's more in there compared to one that's improvised, then they can kind of tell. But if you can, not letting them know. And I think a good way to do that is, say you've, if they've randomly gone to a blacksmith for something and you weren't expecting them to, but you've got a blacksmith planned for another town where they're going to have to do that, import that character in. Same with when they go places. If a player's if you're expecting a player to go somewhere and they go somewhere else, can you still put your place there to give almost the illusion of sandboxing, and you just adjust it a little bit? So
that makes sense.
Yeah, so it's something I do in one shots a lot. Is that if a player has like 3 choices, sometimes those 3 choices will be completely different and lead to other places. But if you're either running out of time, or if you kind of need something to happen, if you're running like a written campaign, like a pre-written campaign or something, all of those 3 choices might lead to the same thing, but in a different way. Kind of give the illusion of free will, almost like society gives us. On that, I want to talk an easy one for you guys to kind of answer, because I guess you've had experience in this. We'll ask everybody, starting with Eddie Face, or Hera Face. Sandbox versus like a straight story. Which do you prefer, both if you've ran them and played in them?
Sandbox is good to run because it kind of keeps them and a bit more easier for you to kind of hit them from all different angles in a sandbox. But with the story, even if you've got a story and they're following it, where you want the story to go isn't necessarily where they're gonna go. So you still have to kind of change it as well, and kind of it's a bit more. It's like the saying, too many books spoil the broth, or whatever the actual saying is. They have their own imagination and their own thing of what they're going to do. They won't necessarily see it the same way you do. So they both have their upsides and their downsides. I do like both. When I write plot, I tend to go more. I'm story. I like telling stories. I like there to be a beginning, middle, and end. But I know that players will wiggle wobble between the points at their own discretion. But as long as I get to the end where I want, then I'm all right.
I think one thing that, again, this is more for the people that have ran games, is how do you, if it is a sandbox and they can kind of think of classic games like Skyrim and Fallout, like from the video game scene, if they can like go wherever they want, how do you balance difficulty in terms of combat and things like that?
Depends on what you've written. So if you've written that in a particular area, if they go to it, there is this thing, and you've made it kind of, it's like in Skyrim, you can stumble into dragons and go, oh nope, can't kill that one, and very much die horribly. But it's there, it doesn't move. You come back to it when you're a bit stronger. So you can write that and make it clear to them, so they get a bit of a warning, like, oh no, can't take whatever that is, but it's not going anywhere. Let's leave.
I guess the difference between like a video game and like a game like this is, in a video game, if you can't go there, you can very quickly get to where you need to go. Whereas I suppose in a game like this, it's a lot harder to. It's like, okay, we've just spent the last 3 sessions getting to this place, and it's very nails. Or would you kind of, in that case, like adjust how strong they are, possibly, or would you just kind of stick to your guns and go, you made the choice, these are how difficult. This is how strong they are.
I'm probably a sticking to my guns person, but I tend to give them a lot of warning beforehand, so I make it really clear to them they're probably going to die if they go this way.
Yeah.
So they get a lot of warning, and it's very much like, okay, well, you're clearly dumbasses, you're going to die.
Yeah, fair enough.
But I do also get a way out, so they could go, actually, yeah, no, you're right, we are dumbasses. Let's run away now, please.
Yeah.
And I give them, they do have the chance to run away.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, as you say, they have spent like 3 sessions getting there, but it's their own stupid fault. They have to walk back somewhere else.
Yeah, as long as along the way it's gone like, danger, do not go here, very high, threats, and then you go, oh, look, a sign, and just keep walking. It's their own fault, I guess, yeah. That's fair.
Yeah, as long as they're having fun, they shouldn't mind. Because, like right now, we're going to try, as long as you make it fun for them, because even I find a lot of fun, throwing myself at things to try and kill them and going, oh, well, that didn't work. But if the GM or the DM lets me try, then I'm okay with that. And then I wander off and go, right, well, now I know.
Yeah, fair enough.
I've done something similar. I've actually deliberately thrown newer players at a bigger baddie to give them because the baddie has been informed to them that this will be a big baddie. This is the highest type of monster you will come across. If you see this, you should not get involved. And then present them with that baddie to see if they would run away from it. And
testing their intelligence, almost.
Yeah. Luckily, the players did, apart from one who thought he could stand up to it, and he suffered for his actions.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, mostly I agree with Eddie. I will have, the baddies will be a certain scale. If the players go to them too early, then it's onto their own intelligence to fall back if needed. But then again, I played with a lot of experienced role players over the years, so I don't know if in your group would have the same reaction.
Yeah.
I think in your group you have to sort of maybe tone it down a bit until they...
Well, we may see, we may not, who knows. So yeah, Gary, same question for you. Do you prefer free roaming kind of games where you can go wherever you like? Or do you prefer games where okay, this is the next place to go, this is the next place, this is the next place?
I'm doing a campaign. I like mostly at free running, but I like a certain story plus to hit and get that way. With one shots, I like almost a deliberate line to an extent. So you've got so much time, you have to do that one shot in the time. As well, regards to them hitting the big bad, you got to punish them or see what creative ways they come up to get out of it. You might not always fight it. They might come up with a way of charming them or bribing them. This time they get brown them past them. It's always that way, hopefully they do learn. Some won't, but it's always unique to see what ideas they come up with that you didn't think of, which catch you off guard.
Yeah, which they will always catch you off guard. It's what players do, which is why DMs try and kill them. Now, in all honesty, being thrown curveballs like that is not only actually quite fun, it helps you as a GM kind of evolve and kind of improve your skills as well, because you kind of go, one, you have to think on your feet, and two, you kind of have to go, right, okay, how can I make sure that I don't fall flat on my arse next time this happens? So yeah, it is good. Jack, do you... Yes, Apollo is in a shark onesie. So yeah, Jack, do you prefer, to just be able to go wherever and fight?
Yeah, I think I like my games just being able to, if you can go to a place, you're allowed, off you go. I think a lot of that is down to, again, your GM story, which will kind of give you hints of where the next big bit of thing is happening. But if you suddenly do want to go over there, you can if you guys want to, because you're playing characters, and it's not a linear video game where you've hit an invisible wall and suddenly you're not allowed to go there. So why can't we go? I do like being able to go where you like, but then that does lead into the consequences thing, like you were saying earlier. If suddenly this main bit of story is over here and you guys have decided to spend a week over this way, well, that main bit of story generally is probably going to have moved on, unless it's something particularly important that the players need to arrive into this. Most of your story is probably going to have moved on if you do happen to choose not to hit that.
Yeah, and that's something I'm probably making it harder for myself by trying to incorporate lots of story happening at the same time. So things are going to be missed no matter where you go. And then I'll make those consequences. Again, you may not even see those consequences. But again, we'll move on to that in a minute, because that'll be the last point we make before we talk about who we liked for favour and why. So yeah, before we move on, Stuart, do you prefer free roaming, or do you prefer like a to know what you're doing kind of story?
I prefer free roaming.
Yeah.
I'll have a go at stories, but I tend to prefer to write free roaming, and I tend to prefer to play free roaming.
Yeah.
So, keeping it quick there for you.
Okay. Well, thank you. Hey, so yeah.
Personal preference.
So in terms of consequences and stuff, again, this is probably more from a running games aspect more than a player. Although I guess if you've kind of experienced that, you can kind of weigh in on it. How much do you guys, if you've created a world, or like if you've created plot for something, how much are you aware of like everything else that's also going on around the world whilst the players are going? Because I think it's very easy, especially when you've played video games, for example, to kind of, or if you're in a kind of a linear party in D&D, to go, well, the rest of the world pauses when I'm not in it. So yeah, how have you guys? What are your guys' experiences on making sure that isn't the case?
Timelines. I would have if I'm running the game, I would have a timeline pre-written.
Yeah,
with a rough idea of what's going to happen. So many days, so many weeks in.
Yeah.
Roughly, obviously, the players can still somehow butterfly affect it and change everything, but
yeah.
Maybe so far advanced, not then upright. Maybe have the first few points and what your end goal is, and then obviously the middle bit can just go anywhere depending on player action. But
yeah, or do the ridiculous thing that I did, which is get around 15 role players to write world plot for you.
Yeah, don't do that.
That's crazy. Yeah, Jack, what do you? Any thoughts? Oh gosh, is he back?
Well, you're gonna spill it. You're gonna spill it.
I believe he's brought wine. Is he Commander crawling the wine? Amazing.
Precious wine.
Oh, it's fine. Dio isn't here to smite you.
I know, you just spill the wine. Dio won't be pleased.
I'm kind of hoping somebody comes crawling into me with wine now. That'd be amazing.
That's when Kratos also crawls up to you somehow and just gives you wine.
Impressive.
It would be very impressive.
Oh.
Hey, there is wine.
Yes, wine in the Carlsberg tin.
So yeah, sorry, Ares. So yes, when it comes to like big world adventures, what experience do you have with like either consequences coming back to possibly bite you in the behind, or writing in that if you've kind of run games and things?
Yeah, I had a generic fantasy game that I ran that I had like some ideas on, and I think I wrote out, or had vague ideas around the world, and then put in hooks and puts in bites for those. So, whenever the players would end up in a tavern, they would all sort of go around trying to find information, and they would all come back with different bits of information. So they could all have that bit of, well, we know about this plot hook and this plot hook, and I know about this one. So they could choose the ones they went for. And if they didn't go for some, later on down the line, they would actually go, oh, that person we heard about that could have been trying to assassinate the person, oh, they've been assassinated. Oh, we didn't go for that. So
yeah,
trying to put those in and then feed those back into people so they know, actually we heard about the possible assassins, and then that person got assassinated because we didn't go for them.
Yeah, I think it I think it definitely helps with like make the players realize the gravity of their part in the world as well, because in some cases that might get picked up by other people in the world, because again, they're not the only people there. So they might, for example, it could have been that those assassins were dealt with by someone else that heard about the assassins. So it's not always, if you're a player, don't worry, you don't have to do absolutely everything you hear about, or else people will die. Sometimes those things will be picked up by other things if you kind of write that in the story. But yeah, I think that's a good device that I'm trying to use is, sometimes if you miss stuff, it doesn't get solved and you kind of hear about what happens because of it. Sometimes if you go for stuff that I don't expect, but in a good way, then I will kind of put stuff in there that means, well done. you went this way and solved this thing that you didn't know about that was, worse. You could have followed that story like seemed obvious, but if you'd have done that, you would have wasted time, whereas finding the secret place has helped a lot more, which is something I'm trying to kind of find a balance with, just to basically to make my players paranoid. Right, it is coming up to time, unless Gary or Eddie, you have anything to add?
No, I haven't. No.
That's what I did. So we will go again. We'll start with Eddie, Hera now. It's definitely in character now. Okay. I know it's been very kind of talk show more than God show, but it's still nice to see, Apollo's amazing like face paint and background and everything else. So that's fine. And Stu's in a toga and Eddie's all shiny, and Jack is wearing red.
Very good.
I do actually have the dress on.
Oh wow!
And also, hang on, I've got my necklace on, which the players won't have any clue about, but you guys do.
Yay! So Hera, and feel free. I've left a good 10 minutes, so you can go into some detail with this if you want to. Who gets your favour this week and why?
I'm going to sound completely repetitive, but I did, to be fair, I did change my vote in the last one. But I'm going back to my first vote. I'm going to say Runt.
Yeah.
He is sticking to his guns in regards to how he treats
and the big
people.
guns.
Big guns. But no, he's getting into his groove, and he's protecting Alma, but he's also kind of doing it in like a big brotherly sort of way. And he clearly has a backstory in regards to his character and why he left Sparta. And I'm interested when he does stuff, I find myself more interested in and kind of picking out the little details and trying to see if there is anything that he gives away, which I think is, you're live streaming this, you want it to be entertaining, and I'm liking that. He's protecting Alma. He did the arm wrestling, and I liked the way he acted when he won. He didn't act like a twat. So it was, he just impressed me, and he made me smile. And if I'm in proper hero mode, kind of the sort of person that I would basically be like, you might be useful to my many, many schemes.
Legit. Okay, Apollo, who gets your favour this week and why?
Tough one. It was tossed up between Alma and Runt. Alma was very funny, especially her selling and stuff and not knowing how to barter, which is quite funny. And being open about it, where she got the stuff from.
I know we didn't bring that up because I was going to be nice, but quickly, just for those that didn't see it, and because I know she's watching, Alma sold a wand of web for 5 gold. There we are. Go on.
I thought that was quite funny, just how you can see the rest of the people wipe the tear and shaking her head, but they can't do anything because she's a child. She doesn't know what she's fully doing.
Yeah.
But I like Runt. They're all had their own moments there, but Runt, taking on the Vikings, but not being boisterous about it and boasting about it, and then at the last bit praying to Ares and winning it. I thought that was quite entertaining as well.
Yeah. So are you going Runt as well?
I'll go Runt as well. Okay.
Yeah. Ares.
Shocking. I'm going to be super predictable. I think it was a nice quieter session. I think it was lots of little tiny stories, and I don't think there was massive big things that happened. It was just lots of nice little bits of progression. But I think the big thing that we did have was Runt having an arm wrestle against a particularly strong Viking, managing to push through that, and did it with honor as well. It wasn't like Hera said. It wasn't just I've won, I'm the greatest. It was looking forward to new challenges and looking forward to coming again. So prevailed in an honourable way as well. So I'm going to go Runt.
Okay, and it's a little bit of a moot point, but Poseidon, who would get your favour, or who does
Honestly,
get your favour?
First of all, I'd like to tell off Gabriel for not using his favour from last week.
He failed.
Mm-hmm.
Failed.
What you doing? What you doing? Like, I mean, you had the favour, but so I'm not happy about that. I'm really not. other than that, I think they all did play very, very well, and I would have been given my favour to. It was a toss-up between Runt and Alma. I probably actually would have went Runt.
Okay.
So
unanimous.
So it's a unanimous.
Ooh.
I know there's
lots
less.
of agreed on one thing.
Hey, that's because Hephaestus wasn't there. So well done, Runt. For those of you, again, that don't know what that means, it means that Dan, or Runt, for the next session, so tomorrow evening, has inspiration that he can use for any role he wishes, but that favour will run out at the end of the session because gods are...
Yeah, it runs out.
It runs out because gods are fickle, and
So
they get bored with you. So he should use it next session. And hopefully, to be fair, on the one hand, there wasn't much opportunity for Gavriel to use it because...
No, there wasn't. I mean, out of character, no. I know he and I watched the episode and went, oh, no, he didn't really need it. But yeah, no, Poseidon's a dick. So.
Because, like I say, a lot of them have...
Gods are fickle. Gods are fickle.
Yeah, a lot of them had very similar skills, so when they do something, they can help each other and get advantage anyway. But in terms of gods, what are you playing at, dude? They hold grudges.
Have you seen it, Decius? Have you seen it?
Not lately. not for a good 10 years.
He could have used that, especially in the arm wrestle fight. He was cheering. He was cheering, and I thought he was going to use it there, but no, he didn't. But yeah, it's a missed out.
Oh well.
No,
he'll
just answering Matt's question. No, Apollo doesn't have a mistake. Poseidon does.
I think I got that for Poseidon, didn't I?
Yeah, you did. Yeah. I also have. Where is it? No, I know that's there, but I also have another red dwarf thing somewhere, like a oh, there he is.
Hey.
You have the Inquisitor bobblehead.
See, I've been reading the Dresden file, so I just have a pervy bob.
I've just finished it for my second time. I've just finished it.
Nice. So yeah, well done, Runt. You have favour for the next episode. Make sure you use it, or they'll complain at you lots. Thank you to Eddie, Gary, Jack, and Stuart, and Hera, Apollo, Ares, and Poseidon for joining me. We're a bit light on the ground at the minute because we're all dying.
Wusses.
Well, you guys aren't because you weren't there.
Got a healing.
Although a few of us were there, and the other lot are just, we're dying. Hephaestus actually can't argue at the minute because he has no voice.
He's not here.
We're
because he
all so happy about that.
So happy. But yeah, hopefully next time we will have more gods there because I miss them even if these guys don't. But yeah, thank you so much, guys. Remember, donate, subscribe, follow, share, tip your waitresses.
And tune in tomorrow.
Yep, definitely tune in tomorrow at 7 p.m. for episode 4, Polyphemus. So yeah, thank you for tuning in.